Geochemical behavior of lanthanides and actinides in an old uranium mine, Portugal. Welcome to Journal Club. The latest academic research, explained in plain English. Today we're looking at this paper from MDPI's Journal of Geosciences. It's authored by Cardenas, et al., from the Universidade de Lisboa in Portugal, and is published open access under a CC BY license. Let's start by translating the title into more accessible language. When you read this title, you can understand it to mean in very simple terms that this paper discusses how certain elements called lanthanides and actinides are found and move around in an old uranium mine in Portugal. Let's expand on that a little. The paper investigates how certain elements called lanthanides and actinides behave in an old uranium mine in Portugal. These elements are radioactive and can be dangerous to the environment and human health, so it's important to understand how they move through the soil and groundwater in the area. By studying the geochemical behavior of these elements, the researchers can learn more about how they interact with the environment and what measures might need to be taken to protect people and the ecosystem from their effects. Now we understand the title, which is a good start, but before we can break down the full paper, we'll need to catch up on some terminology, jargon, background information and context. Specifically, there are some key concepts you'll need to be familiar with. Let's define them now. Geochemical behavior. The study of how chemical elements behave in the environment. Lanthanides. A group of chemical elements with atomic numbers ranging from 57 to 71 on the periodic table. Actinides. A group of chemical elements with atomic numbers ranging from 89 to 103 on the periodic table. Uranium mine, a location where uranium is extracted from the ground. ICP-MS, inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry, a technique used to measure the concentrations of elements in a sample. INR, instrumental neutron activation analysis, a technique used to determine the concentrations of elements in a sample. XRD, X-ray diffraction, a technique used to identify the mineralogical composition of a sample. Rare earth elements, a group of chemical elements with atomic numbers ranging from 57 to 71 on the periodic table. Th/U, the ratio of thorium to uranium in a sample. Sediments, small particles of matter that settle at the bottom of a liquid. Now that we understand the title and key concepts, we're ready to dive in and break down this paper. In this presentation, we're going to attempt to answer 5 questions. 1. What were the researchers trying to figure out? Or more specifically, what was their hypothesis? 2. How did they conduct their experiment? That is, how did they test their hypothesis? 3. What were the results of the experiment? 4. What conclusions did the authors draw from those results? And lastly, 5. Why does this research matter? Why should you care? 1. What were the researchers trying to figure out? The researchers hypothesized that the geochemical behavior of actinides and lanthanides in an old uranium mine differs from that in the surrounding area due to extraction, or processes, and waste rock percolation. 2. How did they conduct their experiment? The researchers collected and analyzed different samples from various locations within and outside an old uranium mine in Portugal to study the behavior of lanthanides and actinides. They collected water samples from a natural lagoon upstream of the open pit and downstream in the Castelo River, as well as soil samples from both inside and outside the mine area. Additionally, they collected sediment samples from the open pit and the Castelo River. The different samples were then analyzed using different analytical techniques to determine the distribution and mobility of the elements of interest. 3. What were the results? The researchers found that the concentrations of lanthanides and actinides in the water, soil, and sediment samples from an old uranium mine in Portugal varied widely. Some samples had very high levels of these elements, while others had low levels. They also found that the behavior of these elements depended on various factors, such as pH and the presence of other chemicals in the environment. Overall, Their findings suggest that further research is needed to better understand the geochemical behavior of these elements in this type of environment. 4. What conclusions did the authors draw from their results? The research paper concludes that the water, soil, and sediment samples collected inside and outside the Quinta do Bispo old uranium mine in Portugal display diverse behavior due to various factors, such as the geological background, mineralogical phases, and physical chemical parameters. The samples collected inside the mine area show heterogeneity of behaviors that could be related to the open pit extraction and/or process operation, while samples collected outside the mine area demonstrate the influence of parental material and stability of primary minerals. The study contributes to a better understanding of actinide and lanthanide geochemistry and behavior in uranium mining areas despite the small number of samples collected. 5. Why does this research matter? The findings are important because they could have implications for the management and remediation of uranium mining areas to reduce the mobility of solutes and promote internal retention in the soils and sediments. The study contributes to a better understanding of actinide and lanthanide geochemistry and behavior in uranium mining areas. We hope you've enjoyed this Journal Club presentation of geochemical behavior of lanthanides and actinides in an old uranium mine, Portugal. If you'd like to read the full paper yourself, which we encourage you to do, you can find it at DOI 10.3390/Geosciences 13060168.